Greetings, dear viewer. It's us. We're here,
Hello.
coming back at you for another Last Orders. I always feel like, there's always Last Orders, but then there's always more orders beyond them because the drinking never really stops at the bar. We just
That's how
carry
they
on.
get you. They're like, "Oh, lost," and then you're like, "Oh no, lost forever." And he's like, "No, just lost until a few hours where we open back up." Like,
Yeah, it always reminds me of Shaun of the Dead when like Ed's solution to having a hangover and feeling a bit shit is just to carry on drinking. Respect.
good times. Shaun of the Dead. Good shit.
Yeah.
That was one of our earliest things we did together, right? Other than T2, I think.
I think T2 was the first one that we did. Well, both of the T movies.
Oh
I
yeah,
suppose.
T1 and 2. I don't know how we did that in the same video. That's insane.
I know. I had this crazy notion that we get through it in like a couple of hours, and probably went on to like 4 or so. Yeah. I didn't fully appreciate how long the long man was back then. I learned my lesson. But, well, we've got a few super chats from the other night that we should get through, so I'm going to just jump right in.
Yes.
My sinus cancer said, "What are your thoughts on IPs possibly leaving Hollywood? Netflix is premiering Terminator Zero, a new animated series, at the same time as Rings of Power Season 2. Can IPs be US owned but developed outside of Hollywood regulations?" Yeah, it's kind of an interesting thing that they're doing, branching out with stuff like this. I don't really know where it's going to lead, whether it's just some little experiment or whether this is the start of something bigger, a bit of a shift. Not sure yet. I mean, do you have any thoughts on Terminator Zero?
No, I didn't hear
series?
It could be very much something that comes and goes and makes no difference to anything, or it could be something that it'd be nice if it was really good. The thing is though, it's like see Terminator, like maybe outside of Hollywood it could be good. It's like, well, I mean the last 2 attempts were just catastrophic. Like I don't even think it's that hard to make an acceptable Terminator film. It's probably hard to make a great one, I guess, but. Man, we haven't had 2 good attempts, is what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Hollywood's capable of a little bit better. The Genesis and Dark Fate.
Yeah, not much better, but a little. I think, just it probably feeds into that general disenchantment with the Hollywood system and what they're capable of producing now. And I'm not making that a blanket term because obviously they are still. There are still good movies getting put out on occasion. It's just that it's no longer the norm. It's very much an exception to the rule. And, sometimes you think, well, it's good to get new blood in. And if it means going to outside studios from different regions, different parts of the world, maybe giving them a shot. I don't know. It's kind of interesting to mix things up occasionally. I'm not against that.
Yeah.
So I guess I hope it does well. I mean, ultimately, I would like good movies. If we can get another good Terminator movie, that'd be awesome. And I don't really care where it comes from, as long as it's good. Humzaraf says, "To those that say you can't act in a mask, Edward Norton played the King of Jerusalem in Kingdom of Heaven in a mask." I mean, he did, yeah. You would never
he's
have
one of
known
the best characters.
Yeah, you would never have known it was Ed Norton, but yeah, he did say lines and he did perform within a mask. I mean, Hugo Weaving's the prime example in V for Vendetta. He can convey a lot with just the tilt of a head with that mask on.
Another one would be, have you ever seen the cinematic for Bastion for Overwatch?
I'm afraid I haven't.
It's a video that Blizzard put together. A lot of League of Legends stuff happens that way as well, but that's, I want to say it's like a 5-minute video, but it's just about a robot, and it's probably one of the best little videos they released. He I believe has a block of a head with a single light. I'm not even sure if it flickers. So yeah, you can. I don't know. Just whenever this conversation comes up, I just think of the stupid Halo stuff. It's like, I can't emote if I have my helmet on.
Hikira. If he weighs the same as a duck, he's made of wood, and therefore he's Sauron. Well, I'm convinced. Wendy L says, "Good news, everyone. It's my birthday. Good times. Open bar 95. Champagne and marathon of Spaceballs, Naked Gun, and myriad of B-grade disaster movies. Yeah. Cheers, drinker. Hail exalted, ancient, winged, noodly long man." Where does the noodliness come in?
Yes, when you stretch out real long, it gets a little noodly.
That's fair play, yeah. You've been spaghettified. War Van Eagle says, Rings of Power is like the really rich kid from class who had the most expensive brand name clothes and the coolest new toys, but it bought him 0 friends and he got his ass kicked every day he showed up for school. Keep it up, gents. Well, I mean, if we have to be the bullies that kick Rings of Power's ass, then yeah, so be it. I'm willing to take on that role for the greater good. David Lamplow. New Lines saw Muller playing Lord of Ring Gollum and decided they needed to make a movie about it.
Yeah, makes sense.
I mean, it's inspirational. It really is. I think they saw Gary and they just thought, we're just going to set this entire thing in a cave and he'll never escape. Andrew Daniel says, not much to say, but I just wanted to chuck some money at you lunatics, so here it is. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, yeah.
Jeff Peterson. Black Milk Cow and PowerPoint Mordor from Season 1 will still remain the most interesting characters in Rings of Power even after Season 2 ends. I don't know. I think Lenny Henry's character, whatever the fuck his name was, that was up there.
Yes.
I think he died the most nonchalant death I think I've ever seen.
The energy was like just, nah, I don't think I want to be in Season 2. I was like, okay. That's okay.
Guess I'm just going to go and die now.
Bye.
Marcus Vinicius Preriga Rego, sorry if I butchered your name, says, first super chat ever. It's my birthday today and I'm gifted with a great panel. Love Shad getting me through my mall ninja phase. Have some shithole country money. Greetings from Brazil. Thanks, man. Happy birthday to you.
Yeah.
Wolfman, I think you guys will agree that the woke clowns in the industry will do anything to excuse themselves from ruining franchises just to make a political point that no one asked for. Pretty much, yep. Java Bean says, Shad, are you going to Abbey Medieval Festival? Well, unfortunately, we're not going to know the answer to that one. But I'm going to promise on his behalf that he'll definitely be there.
I just can't believe they made a whole medieval festival based after that character from Last of Us 2. That's crazy.
Well, I mean, she's pretty big.
She's pretty popular,
kind of the size of a cathedral, you could probably base something around her.
A lot of fans will be going there. Shad, better be careful.
If you're going to base a festival around her, it should really be like a crazy golf tournament or something. Like,
imagine everyone there is cosplaying her. Just everyone is in Abbey, like outfits and suits. It's just like, yes, Abbey.
Just like crazy and fan enthusiasm. Handshot Last says, who's the better character, Roderick Usher or Viserys?
I'm probably going to go with Viserys, but it's not an easy choice, to be fair. And that might surprise some people listening. Be like, who the fuck is even Roderick Usher? It's like, oh, that's the fall of the House of Usher. I find him a pretty fascinating character, considering his whole story.
I think a lot rests on the performance of his actor. Is it Bruce Greenwood?
Yes.
Plays him. Yes. I remember the name. Yeah, I mean, like, at this point, I can't imagine anyone else playing them, especially not Frank Langella. Like, that's bizarre that he got swapped out midway through production. But yeah, Bruce absolutely nailed that role. But yeah,
I love
fascinating character.
It's so weird, the reshoot thing, because I feel like the whole series is like, he's like 50% of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, he's such a huge presence, and it's just seamless. You would never know that he'd been swapped in.
I certainly didn't notice. And I love plenty of the performances from everybody, but his I was very glad to see him get such a big role in such a season-long TV, because he's always good whenever he shows up in anything. He's just
he really is
usually supporting.
Yeah, exactly. He's kind of like a quieter sort of background character, or just very much supporting. But like, yeah, nice to see him take central stage and get to do some really good acting and like a pretty challenging performance that asks a lot of him, and he absolutely delivers. But yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. I think overall, I'd probably say Viserys, just because you feel so much empathy for the guy. He is like your ultimate good guy, a good man trying to do his best in very challenging circumstances. A flawed man for sure. He's by no means a hero. He's by no means perfect, but man, you feel bad for the guy. You really do. And he got some great moments. Kyle the Bears fan says DEI stands for didn't earn it. Have a nice day. Thanks everyone for not staying silent while our entertainment and escapism is under attack. I wish you all the best. Game on. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Skeels the ear says, hail to the bar and panel. My 40th birthday was yesterday. How do you all stay motivated with your projects? Appreciate all your work and take care. First up, well, happy birthday, mates. And yeah, so many people seem to be having birthdays at the moment.
They happen all year round. It's insane.
Well, they do. It's crazy. But I don't know. We seem to have a real glut of like birthday notifications, I suppose, on Open Bar. So I don't know. Maybe what would it have been 9 months ago? Like August or something? Yeah, maybe there was just a lot of shagging getting done in August, I guess. And this is the result. Anyway, how do we stay motivated with our projects? So we can approach this from two different directions. Like the biggest projects that I take on are writing novels. Obviously, your ones are editing videos. So I don't know. Do you want to go first or shall I?
Yeah, you can. Well, we could both talk about staying motivated to make smaller stuff and the huge stuff, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, small stuff is easy because it's over quickly. So it's like, well, you don't really get to experience that struggle of trying to stay motivated because it's usually done by the time you're starting to get bored. I think with something like a novel, that's a good 6 months of work. And so usually I'm super pumped up about it at the early stages, like the first month or so. And then for the final month or two, you can see the finish line is in sight. So again, you're getting quite excited about the prospect of finishing the story, bringing it to a close, and then moving on to the next stage. That's all great stuff. It's the tricky part is the middle bit, the slog. That's where you really just have to put in the hours. And it's not always easy because there's always the temptation to say, well, I'd like to take a break tonight. There's a bunch of other things I'd rather be doing. But every day that you decide to take a break, you're adding another day onto your deadline. And it's very easy to carry on doing that. And before you know it, you've lost all of your momentum. And that is a very important thing to maintain. So for me, it's just a case of reminding myself of what the end goal is and keeping an eye on it, keeping an eye on how close I'm getting to it, and maintaining a pace of work. That's how I get through it, is by keeping it going. If I stop for any length of time, it's quite difficult to get that fired up again. So that's generally how I try to stay motivated for it.
I'm trying to think of if there's anything I can say that's not basically just plowing on through. I mean, one of the things that I've said before, and I still think is really a big deal, is like, let's get to the point where you've actually completed the script, which might be a big jump for a lot of people, but the thing they're going to read out for this big old video, and the reading of it might be something that you can get through relatively easy as well. But when you get to that daunting part of, I have all this audio to cut, and then I got to apply visuals to everything, and this is going to, especially because I did 2 6-hour videos, which were not done quick. But like, how do you keep going on those? It's like, I think if you split everything into smaller and smaller and smaller pieces, and then you just keep track of the progress you're making, makes it feel much more surmountable. And I know it sounds a bit counterproductive, but if you try to ignore the part of your brain that tells you this won't be finished for like months, and those months will slip by, as other things are happening. Obviously, don't need to dedicate your entire life to just doing that. If you're doing other things that are fun, maintaining a normal life, eventually you'll look around, you'll be like, wait a minute, I've got a whole hour completed. That's like 6 hours, but shrunken down by a sixth. So if I just do all of that,
fucking Mahler maths right there.
if I do all that again, and then again, and then I do all of that again, it'll be done. That's going to be crazy. And then you do it, and then you're like, oh, I did it. And now I can rest. And then tomorrow you wake up and you're like, nah, time for the next one.
I mean, as well, like, do you set yourself hard deadlines for having
There
certain things
are,
completed?
with almost all of the videos, there's a release day that I want for whatever reason. And so, yeah, like the Fallout video, for example, that went out when I say a video goes out hours after it's rendered, that may sound normal to some people because that's just when they put the video out. But for me, it means that like I had a deadline and it went out just on time. Like it was a desperate fucking move. I remember that happened with the MOM video. It was having copyright issues, and at the last render, I think, did I speak to you about this? I can't remember, but I know that I asked a couple of friends around basically, should I wait a week to make sure it passes copyright, or should I just put it out and gamble it? And I think everyone advised me to wait, and I decided to gamble, and it paid off. Which is, don't do that.
It's a ballsy move because I can't imagine putting that amount of work and time on the line and just saying, well, I'm reasonably confident like this won't get copyright struck and like I just won't make a single penny out of it.
I hate not releasing a video for so long and then doing like, I think the anniversary stream was happening and I didn't want people to be like, oh, so he's just not making anything anymore. I was like, no, I've got something. It's just hell to get it out.
Yeah.
So I was very happy I could get that out first because I should be like, there you go. Just a 6-hour video if you've got a few minutes spare.
Yeah. Snex says, what are your thoughts on Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War? And do you think the stories could be adapted into movies if done by the right people?
Probably, but I didn't play them, so I can't say anything substantive really.
I'm in the same boat. Never really played either of those games. Sorry, man. Mike Stein says, Hail Drinker, Mahler, I've seen your videos at least twice. Took me almost 4 years non-stop. Keep doing what you're doing.
Will do.
Carter Hockham says, hey, gentlemen, I just graduated from college and your videos helped me these past 2 years, which were tough. Thank you for always making awesome content and being true and sincere. Cheers. Thanks, man, and congratulations for graduating from college. That's well done. Yeah, hope you were able to retain your sanity while you were there. Kyle the Bears fan says, wish Winifred Sanderson from Hocus Pocus. I don't know what that means necessarily, but okay.
All right.
Fantasy Fanatic says, hail open bar. Just lost my grandpa. He had dementia, which is why his last words to me were, go away. It's awesome he sent me off in perfect drinker fashion. In honor of those who have passed on, can I get a go away now? Absolutely, my friend. Go away now. And I'm sorry to hear about your grandpa. Yeah. John Everett says, Woodshop Dildos. That was Gary's high school hair metal band. That sounds good. Pickle Pepper says, Shogun Season 2 and 3 rumors are appearing now. I'm scared they might screw it up, but we're going to find out, I suppose. We are indeed. There's always the danger when a show hits a certain level of success, I suppose, that people from various angles want to get their claws into it and make it into what they want it to be. So you just have to hope that they've still got a bit of artistic integrity and they tell the correct story that they always set out to tell. That's my hope. Simon Ho. Drinker, you predicted the Doctor Who future. You talked about your favorite teddy bear's head getting ripped out and replaced with a giant black rubber dildo. I did, and I stand by that analogy.
It's an intellectual analysis, okay?
It really is, yeah. I'm gonna screw your video essays, right? That's where it's really at in terms of film criticism. And wow, yeah, Doctor Who's ratings reflect that. I suppose they almost dip below 2 million for the latest episodes. I mean, that's bad times, and I'm here to watch it and laugh. Moshi Cat says, great panel, love Despot. Last week I said Mauler and Platoon are the two sexiest voices on YouTube, but I have a solid third place. I'm a girl, so you can accept it. Can you tell again the name of the Greyhound shelter? Greetings from Switzerland. So like a lot of stuff to cover there. So apparently Despot is like the third sexiest on the panel.
Nice.
Is that what we're going for? Fair enough. Yeah, the Greyhound shelter that I got the critical doggo from, that is called Greyhound Rescue Fife. That's where I got them, and it's where we were able to donate the proceeds from the critical doggo plushie. So they're very happy with that. Kat says, 15,000 viewers. Congrats, guys. I have become a huge fan over the last couple of years. Thank you.
Neat.
Glad you've been enjoying us.
Yeah.
Kyle the Bears fan says, "Can you please move the screen a little? It's haunting my dreams." I think that's where we had Maestro up for a couple of minutes. People did not like it after a while.
I was gonna bring it up, and then I was like, no, they need it. It's needed. It's artistic.
Yeah.
It's important.
I was just thinking, like, you guys have to experience this because we did. You know, we had to suffer through some of this stuff, and so you guys do as well, so you can feel our pain.
I do that in my videos a lot, where I'm like, the most suffering I've ever had in any particular thing, I'm like, how can I make it so the audience has to feel this as well?
Yeah.
Because we're very nice people.
We are, yeah. Well, misery loves company.
Yeah.
JJKK says RTD, so many abbreviations here, made the decent episodes between the good episodes in the early seasons. Okay. Maximilian says, "Good day, gents. I'm turning 22 this year, and I think that alcohol is meant to be for special occasions, such as accomplishing a milestone. What are your thoughts on this, and what would you suggest for someone's first drink?" So I firmly believe that, yeah, you should reserve alcohol drinking for important milestones, like it being a new day, or, you know, you going into a different room in your house. Like, you know, these are all important milestones in life. And in terms of your first drink, you should probably start pretty laid back. Just have yourself a nice beer. You know, you don't want to go straight into the hard stuff right away. Jordan,
on that note, I heard a criticism of Star Trek 6 is how of a much of a blunder, how much of a bonehead move it was for the Federation to be entertaining the idea, not even the Federation, but the Enterprise, have the people there having alcohol during this very important meeting during the near the beginning of the film, and it was part of the criticism was like, everyone knows that when you have alcohol, it'll make you say things that you wouldn't normally say, causing more tension. And I was like, yeah, but you also know that alcohol can have people get along. Everyone, that's a thing it can do as well.
That is absolutely a thing. I mean, it just depends how much you have, I suppose. Like, if you get a bit of a buzz on, it's more likely to make you a bit more mellow, a bit more laid back, maybe a bit more likely to let things slide.
Yeah,
during tense events.
And
you did raise a good point, actually, during our little watch through. Like, did Valaris suggest the alcohol in order to try and sabotage the whole thing, like, a little bit early?
Yeah, because it all comes down to characters. As far as I'm concerned, it's totally in Kirk's character to be like, oh, yes, actually, a drink would be nice to get through this.
Yeah.
You know, meanwhile, I could totally buy that she was like, if I liquor him up a little bit, it might cause even more tension, more drama.
I think my only thing that puts me off that concept is if things were to devolve during that dinner and tensions were running high, the Klingons, I guess, are more likely to be on their guard when they go back to their ship, and perhaps they might be a bit more wary against a surprise attack. And then the assassination attempt might have failed, potentially.
I assume they were always going to be hyper vulnerable, but that at least you could use anything that was thrown at them during that dinner scene as evidence of malintent, you know?
Well, that is definitely true, yeah. It's an interesting thing to chew on either way. Next one is Jordan McCool says, thoughts or advice on writing from third-person perspective? Also, 1990s Catherine Zeta-Jones. Wow, thanks for the vid, Mauler.
Yeah,
is she like the pride of Wales?
Well, she was just being appreciated a lot in our Mask of Zorro watch through.
She was great. She was really nice. I think it was Rags who pointed out that the way they lit some of her scenes, there was like that soft focus that they had in like the old matinee movies from the 50s. And it was just, whether it was intentional or not, I'm not quite sure. But man, it was just such a classic look. She just looked awesome in that movie. Nice.
Yeah.
Writing from the third person perspective, I mean, all of my books are written that way. So I don't know. For me, it's just the default setting. I don't write first person novels. The best way I can say it is just you can jump around as much as you want when you're doing third person. You're the omnipotent narrator, and it gives you a lot more creative freedom to explore different characters' points of view. You know, you can jump into one person's head and then the next person, and that is great. You get to see their thought processes. So it's something I would always recommend, I suppose, especially if you, you know, this is like a first-time novel for you. It's something that allows you to go into more detail and show different perspectives relatively easily. First person is probably more challenging, I would say. Murican says, who would win, a $1 billion show made by a mega company or a shaved ape on a tractor in England? I think we all know the answer to that one.
Yeah, it's obvious.
And he deserves it. Maximilian says, howdy, Drinker and Longman. Have you seen Jujutsu Kaisen? I'd be interested in your thoughts of Yuji Itadori and Gojo Satori. If you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend. I have not seen Jujutsu Kaisen, I'm afraid, so I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, neither have I.
Okay. WG says, I'm turning Japanese. 1980s hit single by the Vapors. Also, I'm turning Japanese. Elves on Amazon's Rings of Power. Indeed.
I remember that song. That should be in Rings of Power. It'd be great.
It would be very appropriate, yeah. And, they've got the full spectrum of diversity now, so well done. You've conquered racism, Amazon. We appreciate you. Timmy04 says, what's the funniest thing you've heard someone say in their sleep? Okay. I can't remember, because I've been to plenty of drunken sleepovers and stuff, but if it was usually me who was passed out, and so God knows what I was saying in my sleep. I can't really recall other people saying crazy shit. Usually it was just snoring and farting.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was much more normal.
Yeah. Blaster Master says, Drinker, I recommend a watch for Mars Express. It's a French animation with a beautiful art style. Okay, thanks. Albert Nada Retro says, what's that? ITX, a little known fact there, Norm, Gary, that David Duke's favorite Star Trek episode is in fact Plato's Stepchildren. I mean, I'll have to agree.
That.
I'll take your word for it. Daisy Alvin Fred says, congrats on the 7 months. It gets easier. Who was that? Someone in chat had super chatted saying that they'd been sober for 7 months. I think it was, yeah. Marine Lad says, Drinker, apart from Mauler, name one bar guest paneler in the past year you'd have in 3 scenarios. A, a zombie apocalypse, B, a deserted island, and C, a war zone. Does it have to be the same person for all 3? What do you reckon?
I guess so. I guess you just want someone who's going to be versatile, probably younger, so they can, they're going to need to do some work in probably all 3 environments. I'm
going to say, I think Reaper maybe, because he's from Liverpool, right? So he's probably no stranger to fighting. So I reckon a zombie apocalypse would be all right. Deserted Island, I'm not sure about his survival skills, but, we can work on that. And then a war zone, again, that's just more fighting, except now the zombies can shoot back at you. So
I'm going to go with Rags. He's been on the bar. It counts, right?
Yeah, he has actually, yeah.
He's very familiar with guns, and he has a whole background of learning how to survive in with I think the equivalent of a Boy Scouts thing he did.
Right.
So and whenever we cover anything that has anything related to that, you'll usually have a comment for it. So it's I believe he'd be able to keep both of us alive for a decent amount of time in these scenarios. So yeah, I'll rely on my little doggo to take care of me.
I also thought Shad, and I can't believe I overlooked him. This is the sword master, right? So he's going to have no problem dealing with zombies. He can just slice and dice them.
Yeah.
Deserted Island, if he's an expert on medieval stuff, he might have some survival skills. And again, Warzone, he's got plate mail armor, so he can just charge straight at people. Because bullets don't go through armor like that, do they? I'm reliably told.
I mean, it depends. Are we going from movies or are we going to real life? I don't know.
Steel Manning says geriatric Riddick. I mean, that's what we're heading towards, I suppose. Vin Diesel's getting on a bit now. Rory Swain says, hail to the Drinker and Co. Have you seen Clarkson's Farm Season 3? If so, what did you think about both it and the show as a whole? Yeah, I mean, we spent quite a bit of time talking about it. It's very compelling viewing. And episode 4 is a tough watch.
I am on episode 2, so I still need to keep going, but I'm looking forward to seeing all of it because it's got more humanity in it than most shows I've seen recently.
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, I won't say anything more. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, when you get to episode 4, you'll see a lot of that. Predon Corpse says, what are each of your takes on John Carpenter's The Thing? I mean, it's fantastic. It's an excellent horror movie.
It's usually the slot for greatest horror movie of all time. It's not just for the fact that it really captures the scary nature of, you know, the paranoia of not knowing who you can trust at any point, but to also be a person who's taken by the thing, how like disgusting, violating, and horrifying that would be.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a particularly interesting creature. The fact that it like copies your shit but can't quite, you know, fully get away with it all the time, or there are ways to try and like subvert it, but it's trying to subvert all of you. Like it's funny because in my head I'm like, oh, there's so many interesting and amazing stories you can tell with that creature, but I don't want any more because
they got it right.
Fuck it. And that film was amazing, and it's not just the creature in general; it's the scripts. They do such a good job. It's actually another film that's fantastic for setup and payoff, as well as just a lot of musings in the subtext about the nature of humanity and how we deal with paranoia. And then, of course, the ending being pretty legendary for people talking about. It's John Carpenter's best film, IMO, and it's one of the greatest horror films of all time. And it's such a shame that when it came out, people went fussed on it.
Well, Mauler, you're clearly incorrect about that last part because Big Trouble in Little China is his greatest film ever.
That's fair.
The Thing was okay.
The Thing was okay.
Yeah, I'll do. Cole Hauser says, remember Triple X? I mean, I'm struggling a little bit, but yeah, I vaguely remember it. That was during that crazy little phase where extreme sports were a real thing, and yeah, Finn was there to capitalize. Jacob Furman says, I'm going to Europe for the first time soon for the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Movies like Saving Private Ryan and All Quiet on the Western Front are excellent in showing the barbarism and depravity of war. The latter is truly one of the most horrifying films that I've seen. Yep, World War I had some pretty brutal stuff going on, and All Quiet on the Western Front really captures that. Did you actually watch that one, Mauler?
I can't remember anymore. I think I don't know what interrupted me, but I was watching it and then I never finished it. It was my bad on that front. I think
that's a shame.
Something personal life, something came up and got in the way.
Boo! Personal life, real things.
Yeah.
Solid Grey says, how do we feel about the Dune show trailer?
Oh, I haven't seen it.
I haven't either. Apparently people are excited though, so
all right.
Good. I mean, hopefully it's good. Maximilian says, Sydney Sweeney for Lara Croft, lower accurate breasts. I mean, that is true. But there are other actresses with big breasts in Hollywood that aren't Sydney Sweeney. I'm reliably informed. She doesn't have to play every role.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't be against it, but let's cast a wider net here. Robo96 says Doctor Who does more damage for the LGBT cause because it perpetuates the image of gay and trans people as unhinged, nasty special cases, when in reality most of them are just normal people getting on with their lives. It's the very antithesis of inclusivity on both fronts. I'm inclined to agree. I don't know what Russell T Davies is thinking there, but he is going down a weird path. And yeah, I agree with you that he's probably doing more harm than good for the cause he claims to represent. And that is a real shame. Jay Smart says, how do you know how many symbiote roles there are in Hollywood? Good on him. Open up the market for symbiotes in fantasy. He's the anti-Dinklage. Yeah, that's fine by me. Cara Rowe says, hail to the panel. Love you guys. What's your favorite trilogy of all time and why?
I mean,
I think I know Mauler's.
I think I know yours too, or unless it's I suppose it's possible that some others could take the reins, but I feel like this question they must have known if they're asking us. We've talked about it like a million times, but I'm gonna go ahead, especially if we talk about films. Favorite trilogies gotta be Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I think that's a fair one. Back to the Future is a really strong runner-up for me. Those are films I could watch anytime and be very happy. Kyle the Bears fan says, have you all seen Harrison Butker's commencement speech? It's the most beautiful commencement speech that I've ever seen. I beg everyone to go listen. So I don't know who that man is, and I've never seen his speech, but okay. I mean, it's obviously made some big impact on you, so you can take a look. The average welder says, my coworker is a lesbian, but she is never bringing it up in conversations as it wasn't her identity. It's almost like it doesn't matter who you sleep with. Either you can lay down some dimes or you can't. Well, true. Indeed. Again, it ties into what the previous person said about Russell T. Davies. The Murak says, Gary and Muller have such a deep knowledge of Doctor Who, they should do a show where they list all their favorite episodes. Maybe invite Az to join.
To be fair, right? We did a top 10. We got through the first 5. We were going to do the rest. And then Az was like, I said, it's been like a whole year. We should totally do the rest. And then he was like, people aren't that interested. And I was like, yeah, they are. They've been saying it all the time in chat. And then he did a poll. Turns out, I think it ended with 52% of people don't care. And I was like, oh, all right then. I got that completely changed my mind. I was like, if you guys don't actually, it's okay. Because I know that some people will be like, well, what do you mean? That's still half people. It's like, yeah, but that's half people. Like the average thing we talk about on that show, all of you are interested in. If only half of you are interested in hearing us talk about our top 5, then I guess,
Yeah,
man, talk about discouraging it.
I know, yeah. Like I say, that's really surprising. I thought it would have been much better than that.
I was surprised too.
Mirden says, wanted to... What is this? They've just used loads of emojis here. So, wanted to party my cherries with you fine specimens of pale males. Thank you for being gentle. Okay. Thank you. Bird Up says, they already had a Tomb Raider TV show. It was Relic Hunter. Anyone remember that? Cool show with Tia Carrera. I remember Relic Hunter with Tia Carrera. She was hot. Where is she now?
Do no taxes.
Tell me where she is, Muller.
I don't know. I don't have her. I swear. I didn't put her nowhere.
No, I remember Relic Hunter. It was just one of those like good-natured sort of shows that you'd find on like the Sci-Fi Channel or something back in the 2000s. And it was pretty harmless fun. Boss Neeson says, if you really want to end wokeness, you should just advocate for Dylan Mulvaney to make a cameo in everything that you like. Peru just declared being trans a mental illness right after she moved there. I mean, that's their business, I suppose. But yeah, didn't do many favors for Bud Light, I guess. Albert Nada Retro. For what it's worth, I hit puberty at 4 watching Linda Carter running on a slow motion in the 70s as Wonder Woman. I think a lot of boys became men because of Linda Carter. Good stuff. Star Trekker. Feeble Wobbly Bridge gives me the shits, to be honest. Hi guys, another good show as usual. Pierce Brosnan, my wife's favourite Bond, but I'm not jealous because I have many favourite Bond girls. I mean, I think we all do, so. Everyone's got something that they can get out of a Bond movie, I suppose.
Yeah.
Eye candy for us all. Yarmouth says, hail, we need a Star Trek with Will Wheaton as Captain Crusher. I mean, I don't imagine Will Wheaton's a huge draw at this point.
Probably not.
It'd be quite cool to see him in a Star Trek show just to get blown up or vaporized or something. That'd be okay. Jay Fraser says, hail gents, recommend Grizzy as a future guest. And also, Muller, have you seen the prequel to The Father, The Son? It stars Hugh Jackman, Laura Dern, and Vanessa Kirby. Hopkins briefly reprises his role.
I didn't realize it was a prequel. I thought it was just another sort of idea that the creator had. But I did see it, and it just there's some stuff in there I liked, but I don't know. It was kind of confusing because it's weird that the guy who made that made The Father, because I thought The Father was leagues ahead in terms of the way they approached the subject matter. In The Son, I just remember being struck by a lot of choices in the filmmaking that were very like, oh, that was a bit over. There was like no subtlety there, or like there's not many layers to this story. It's very straightforward in terms of what they once said. I don't know. I wasn't as impressed. I thought it was good, while I thought The Father was like one of the best films I've seen. So it's like a bit of a difference.
Yeah. It's an odd one to try and do a prequel to. It just didn't strike me as the kind of movie that you needed to expand the story for. Really,
also, it's
about. I
understand
it's like a one and done, isn't it?
It's about Hugh Jackman's relationship with his own son, and how it reflects. There's a scene with Anthony Hopkins, and it's just another brilliant scene because he's fucking. I don't know if you knew, but he's a pretty good actor. And
I've heard
his relationship with Hugh Jackman's not fantastic, and I think the film is trying to have some sort of commentary on how generations are affected, as they go down for relationships for a father and a son. Like there's plenty the film says. I just I don't want to sound like I'm shitting all over it. I just it was up against a lot in terms of legacy because of what I was expecting, sort of.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. Jonathan Showalter says, "Is Billy Zane's The Phantom on the EFAP movies watch list? I think of it as a companion piece to The Mask of Zorro. It's not on Zorro's level, but Catherine Zeta-Jones is just as sexy."
I haven't seen it.
The Phantom's a lot of fun. It's, I don't know, I'd kind of liken it to The Rocketeer, where it's like this early 90s attempt to do like a superhero movie. So with a lot of the kind of goofiness you'd expect from that time period. But it feels like they made a sincere attempt to adapt The Phantom and do something fun. And there is a certain amount of fun to be had from it.
You shall have to check it out at some point.
It's not exactly a modern classic, but I think there is. You'd probably be able to get a lot of fun out of an EFAP watch through.
And apparently, by the way, I did just look into it. Apparently, the son is a prequel to the father, which is strange. I didn't realize that.
Wow.
Like in continuity, rather than it's also Florian Zeller's the completing his trilogy. I'm not even sure what the third film is.
The father, the son, the grandfather. I don't know.
The Holy Ghost.
Yeah. Box office brawler. Hello, you massives. I'm new to YouTube creation and have a question stirring. What's the protocol for using clips of interviews with audio? Thanks, bro. So, interviews you generally are okay with. I've never had a copyright claim on anything like that. I don't know if you ever had problems
No,
with
they're
that.
usually pretty chill with those, though I still try to keep them as short as possible,
Yeah, I guess don't abuse it, but you're probably going to be okay. Slick Gossip says, Melissa Barrera, a Mexican actress, is rumored to be playing Lara Croft. Plus, Phoebe Waller-Bridge also said for traditional Lara Croft fans, expect something different. I am 100% not surprised by that. So yeah, it's right in line, and it's what I'd expect from a show like this.
Yeah.
Ven Maru the Fool says the big difference between Johnny Bravo and Modern Swill is that each episode of the former had Johnny learn a lesson. He was a bit less of an arse as the show went on, and by the series end, he'd actually matured. So there you go. Character arcs. Learning. Developing.
Yeah.
Dr. Stock says, I would love to join a live stream and share my thoughts as just a guy who was looking for entertainment and got Disneyed and Amazoned instead. We all did, my friend. We all did. But we do our best to get through it. Nicolex Official says, my mom, we have Borderlands at home. Lol, fuck off, Hollywood.
Yeah, that's going to be a thing when that comes out. We'll see.
Yeah. Hiking Fionor says, greetings, fellas. Thanks for the shout out, Gary. There you go. Nice. Brian Burrows, Street Fighter with Raul Julia is the best adaptation of a video game ever. I will fight all of you. Well, I can't argue with that, because the day you fight us will be the greatest day of your life. But for us, it is Tuesday. But no, it was a good fun movie. Very ridiculously goofy, but Raul Julia just made that film. Nicolex Official also says, favorite anime adaptation is easily Rurouni Kenshin. Must see. I can't say any of these names. I'm sorry. Jay Fraser. Did you know Terminator Zero, an 8-episode Terminator anime series set in Japan by Production IG, premieres on Netflix on the 29th of August? Judgment Day. That was a good choice. Yeah, we'll hold fire, I guess, and wait to see what it's like.
Yeah.
Curtis Hart. Speaking of video game movies, the Minecraft movie is going to be a thing. Great. I mean, I think I was probably a bit old for Minecraft by the time it came out, so never really cared about it.
I just never really cared about it anyway. I hear it's good though.
It's probably done something right, hasn't it? Because quite a few people have played it over the years. Matthew Hammond says Tetris is the best video game movie. Pure adaptation is Resident Evil. I don't think
Wait, are they
so.
saying that the Full W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movie is the best game adaptation?
Well, at this point, how are we supposed to know? Is it like the Paul W. Sanderson
Yeah.
ones? Is it the Welcome to Raccoon City, or is it the Resident Evil on Netflix? Who's
Who
to say,
knows?
really? I just love that we've had 3 different attempts to do this, and none of them have fucking come close. It's like, how hard is it? Kevin O'Neill, Mortal Kombat 95 was a terrible movie, and it's still the best Mortal Kombat movie, and I will always love it. Yeah, again, it's a lot of people had fun with that film.
Yeah.
Shaker Silver. Never has there been a greater insult of an adaptation than seeing the Max Payne movie completely botched an already wonderful cinematic game. That is a weird movie that I just forgot about like the moment it was over. I just remember
Mark Wahlberg, right?
Marky Mark just being a bit of a sad sack in it. But that's all I can tell you about it. Nicolex official says Resident Evil is cursed to never have good films. I think so, yeah. That's what it's feeling like. Magnum North says Cyberpunk Edge Runners is brilliant. It is. It's a good show. I very much enjoyed it. Silent Evil. Once discourse on Fallout has died down, I want a big debate on a video game adaptation mostly praised but questionable whether it was actually done well or not. I will give you the first Silent Hill movie. Ooh. That was pretty shit. I'm not gonna lie. I think there's going to be debates on The Last of Us, I think. And I think if season 2 turns out to be shit, I think it's going to reshape people's perception of season 1 and not in a good way. But that's probably a discussion for another day. Polysemia says, who would win in a fist fight, Alexander the Great or Barry McGuigan? Well, Alexander was more of a general than a brawler, so I think Barry McGuigan would probably take him.
Seems fair.
I mean, Barry's a boxer, so yeah, I think he's probably got the edge. OMG Puppies says, a recommendation, The City and the City, a BBC production of China Mieville's sci-fi book, a murder mystery set in 2 cities that occupy the same space. That's an interesting concept. Reverend Chapin just says, Logan. Okay, short and sweet.
Right.
Some weird guy says, just glad that Wesker got a proper death in the Resident Evil movie. What, like a door fucking landed on him and then he blew up?
It smooshed his foot. So there it goes.
Yeah. This is the guy who tanked like shotgun blasts to the face, got blown up, got shot multiple times in the body.
But the door was heavy, okay?
Yeah. God, what a movie. Dragon Reborn, Darren, says, I've got all the seasons of the animated G.I. Joe on Amazon Prime, and correct me if I'm wrong, at the end of the episodes, the Joes used to give meaningful messages, but it seems that Prime has removed those positive messages. Yeah, weren't they the whole, like, now you know, and knowing is half the battle, and it'll be like public service announcements about putting your campfires out and shit like that.
Brush your teeth, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Remember to breathe air. Jake Moss says, good day, fellas. Coming in late was listening to Dungeon Crawler Carl and heard the drinker was curious if you read or listened to the books, and if so, what are your thoughts on them? Cheers. So I haven't actually read them or listened to them, I'm afraid. I just did my little bit and then kind of had other stuff that I needed to move on to. But it's funny, every so often people bring them up, so they've obviously gone down well. Pyrad Dracanum says, so somehow Yasuki, the errand boy whose only job is to carry Nobunaga's short sword for 3 years before got sold back to the Jesuit, now he's the We Was Samazai and shit. Wakanda Ubisoft. Yeah, that game's not done them any favors, has it, since that trailer came out? I think.
Oh, it's the new big discussion, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think if you're going to do an Assassin's Creed game, like another one, because there's been about 200 at this point, and you really want to have a black protagonist, well, what about setting it in sub-Saharan Africa in like the Middle Ages? Like, that's a pretty interesting historical period that doesn't get a lot of mainstream coverage. You can teach people a lot about that time, but instead you just thought, nah, samurai are cool and we want a black character, so let's just mesh them together and we'll find a random historical figure that's just, roughly comparable, and that's it. It's just, people can see exactly what you're doing. Meme Mule Life says, The US debt is now $34.2 trillion. And I sort of facetiously said it was like 10 trillion, so I was miles off. Which is
Close.
just, it's an impressive number, isn't it?
That's a word for it, yeah.
The thing is, as I understand it, it almost doesn't matter what the national debt is because the dollar is like essentially the world currency. It's the currency that everything else is staked against. And so it doesn't matter how much debt they rack up, they can't default on it because the entire world's economy depends on them. Which is, it's an interesting position to be in, I suppose, but where does it end? DWAT gave us a super sticker. Cheers, man. Silent Evil says, relevant closer to the third film coming, that first Silent Hill movie is considered by many to be the most faithful video game adaptation. Not all, though. Where do you stand on this? To be continued. So, I thought it was a pretty shit film. I mean, it's got some recognizable elements from the games, but fucking hell, it's pretty tenuous, man. It's, I don't know, Muller, what you think?
Of the,
Silent Hill movie.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think. It's hard to remember. I don't think I played any of the games, and I think I may have seen half of one of the films ages ago. So by silent film, like that's one of the. You said silent film. That I need to fix that part of my culture gap, so to speak, a little bit at some point.
You need to improve your media diet, Muller.
Yeah.
And Appleby and Company says only Radagast the Brown can save this franchise. Yeah, I'd see a movie about him, just him covered in bird shit and just mooching around his forest.
Yeah,
that'd be all right. But anyway, that was the last of the super chats. That was us at the end. So thank you guys. Thank you for being so generous and sending us so many questions. We appreciate it as always. And we'll catch you on the next open bar. So for now, that's all we got for today. Go away now.
Bye.